We'll talk about you and your money and what these people are doing about it. We're going to talk to Congressman Eli Crane. What are they passing? What didn't they pass? Anna Perez. All that and more is coming up on I'm Right. Okay, let's begin with the continuing resolution. All right, let's just begin here. And yes, we're going to talk tomorrow probably more about the Biden, Xi Jinping to San Francisco. That's not important for our purposes. And you know why it's not important for our purposes? Because it doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter for you. It doesn't matter for me. There's this tremendous disconnect in this country with our, quote, leaders and us. And let's talk about that before we get to this continuing resolution in the House of Representatives and all the other things we're going to do on this show. Leaders, leadership. There are different kinds of leaders. There are great ones. There are awful ones. And look, I can only give you my experience with leaders. When I was in the Marines, you got to find out who the good ones were and who the bad ones were. And the good ones, the truly good ones, yes, they would demand hard things of you. There's no question about it. But they would also put themselves in the same hard situation, that's one. And two, they always, as your leader, took on more than you took on. That's what they did. And that's what they believed because they cared so much about you. They viewed leadership as a burden, not a privilege. A burden, not a privilege. So all day long, we're PTing, we're in the field, we're doing these things, we're digging in. Your leader, if you have a good one, which is rare, but if you have a good platoon sergeant, well, platoon sergeants are actually pretty common, but he's digging in with you. He's doing these things all day long. And then at the end of the day, he doesn't rack out. He takes the first watch. You, men, you're tired. You sleep. I'm your leader. I will stay up. That's leadership. But in this country, we don't have that because our, quote, leaders, the politicians, Democrats and Republicans who lead this country, they believe that you exist to serve them because they see themselves as kings and queens. You're there to provide a better life for them. You know, we just had this House, they passed a continuing resolution, 336 to 95. 209 Democrats supported it, 127 Republicans supported it. 127 of them. And I need to clarify before we go to Mike Johnson and everything else, and I'm going to keep beating this drumbeat over and over and over again until you roll your eyes and just start pounding your head off the desk. Because the American people need to know. I know you already know, but you need to go tell Normie Norm. You need to tell your neighbor. You need to tell your friend at work who complains. The prices in your life are high because of the government. Because the government spends money and prints money it does not have. I'll say it again. The prices in your life are high because the government spends and prints money it does not have. You are stressed right now about energy, about food, about various other things. You're watching your standard of living go down in real time. Not many people in American history have had to experience this. Some have, but not many. But you're watching your standard of living dip below that of your parents and your grandparents. That's what you're experiencing right now. And you're experiencing it because the government is spending and printing money it does not have. That devalues the dollar, meaning your dollar does not go as far. That's why you're poor. Here's Mike Johnson describing why they just had to pass this thing.
So the latter CR, the two-step CR, everybody calls it something different. It's a new innovation. But it's going to change the way we've done this. We have broken the fever. We are not going to have a massive omnibus spending bill right before Christmas. That is a gift to the American people. To break it up and put it into January 19th for the first tranche of the bills, and February 2nd for the rest. And that will allow us to go through the deliberative process in good faith. I'm going to take everybody at their word that we're doing this in good faith, to do the appropriations process as it should be done.
What's that mean? Well, they're just going to keep spending at their current levels. That's what that means. They don't want to deal with any hard fights. They certainly don't want to defund themselves. You see, they're not leaders. For these people, they get together, and their highest priority is not you and your grocery bill, not you and your rent. No. They're not worried about your standard of living going down. For these people, Democrats and Republicans, they get together, and because they're not real leaders, their highest priority is themselves. Every elected representative in the United States House of Representatives should be mortified as they watch their constituents, their standard of living go down. It should be, if they were true leaders, it should be agonizing to every one of these people watching you suffer the way you are starting to suffer. It should eat at them, because that's what a leader does. But the only thing that eats at these people is the thought of not funding the government with borrowed money, with printed money. It's not just that your standard of living is going down. It's that these people are guaranteeing its continued descent without end. No cuts anywhere, ever. You know, I was just told about how great it is that we're just going to fund this. Then we don't have to stress through Christmas. Isn't that great? It's just fund it and fund it and fund it. I will try again in January, of course. In the meantime, the DOJ has declared war on half the American people. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has declared war on half the American people. Wrap your minds around the fact that Republicans just joined with Democrats to fund this organization.
Those individuals, that watch list that we talk about, why do you think in 4 years before this there were only 11 and suddenly there are 294 in the past few years? Why do you think that's so?
I can't really speak to that issue. It's not in my lane.
Oh, it's not in my lane. Terrorists? What? That's not in my lane. But you know what is in his lane? Funded now by Republicans, fully funded by Republicans. You know what is in his lane? Attacking pro-lifers, arresting them at gunpoint, including ones who volunteered to turn themselves in, continuing to hunt down like dogs peaceful January 6 protesters, spying on Donald Trump's campaign, raiding Mar-a-Lago, deciding that school board parents are domestic terrorists, deciding that you, with your Gadsden flag or your Betsy Ross flag, are a potential domestic terrorist. Oh, did I mention, on multiple different occasions, running cover for the Biden crime family, both to cover up his crimes and to ensure his election. But priority one for Republicans and Democrats in this country is to make sure that organization has all the funds they need until January. All these people do is care about themselves. You see the Thanksgiving numbers? Compared to 2019, turkey's up 32%, ham 97%, rolls up 54%, stuffing up 41%, potatoes up 30%, green beans up 32%. I could go on and on and on and on. But I want you to understand, as you watch your standard of living be destroyed, as you watch your rent go up, your gas go up, your food go up, as you watch the cost of everything. Have you been out to eat recently? When's the last time you took your family out to eat? We went out to a chicken wing place locally on Friday. We're high-class people like that. Just me, wife, 2 kids. We went out to a chicken wing place. It's like $85 for a family of 4 eating chicken wings and fries and waters. $85. But hey, government's got their cheddar cheese until January. After all, that is the most important thing. But hey, they do have a plan. You know, they have a plan for all this inflation. I want to thank Grandma Vodka for once again being the leading voice. This is the plan. This is the system's plan when it comes to inflation.
And there has to be some more clarity in people understanding all that this president did, whether it's about the economy, the environment, cost of prescription drugs, the list goes on and on. And that message has to be out there too, as evidence of what more needs to be done. And he proves that he can get it done.
Okay. You see? You just don't understand. You don't understand how much better you have it now. That is going to be the talking point. And Republicans will join in this too. You'll enjoy Republican after Republican after Republican in the coming days, coming to you, describing to you how much good they did for you, how much good they did for America by making sure the government is taken care of. Not you, of course. What were you expecting, leadership? No, we're not worried about you. They're going to get some rack time. Anyway, you stand watch. They're going to hit the rack. That's the leadership in this country. Disgraceful, all of them. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. One of the good ones who isn't doing that to you is Congressman Eli Crane, former Navy SEAL, and we're going to talk to him about it next. Before we get to Eli, let's do this. We're all cutting costs, right? Everybody. So I know you probably want to unload that timeshare, and I know you probably think you can't. Because these timeshare companies, that's what they do. They try to trap you in, and then they'll tell you, sorry, you signed the contract. Check the contract, you signed it. But Lone Star Transfer, they get people legally and permanently out. And I can't even describe to you how successful they are at this. 99% of the time, they will legally and permanently get you out of that timeshare. At least unload that bill you don't need. Call them. There's a family company. They put it in writing. They even give you a time frame. They'll get you out. You're one phone call away from dumping that burden. 844-310-2646. All right? Or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. We'll be back.
I'm sick and tired of it. I didn't come here for second place. I didn't come here for more excuses. I didn't come here to have the Speaker of the House assume the position and in 17 days pass a continuing resolution off the floor of this House through suspension of the rules.
Dang, Chip. What's got him so fired up? I don't even understand what's happening. Did it pass? It didn't pass? I don't know. Let's ask the congressman about it. Joining me now, my friend Congressman Eli Crane of Arizona, former Navy SEAL. Eli, okay, break this down for those of us who are not there. We don't understand. We just found out it passed. It passed with Democrat control, but that it didn't pass. They're holding it up. What's happening?
Yeah, so it did pass, Chip, or Jesse, I'm sorry, man. It's been a long 10 weeks. We've been up here for a long time. I think that's why you're seeing some of the shenanigans on Capitol Hill, people getting invites and whatnot. But it did pass, unfortunately. None of us wanted to, many of the conservatives did not want to see that happen because it really just continues the Pelosi, Schumer agenda at those spending levels. And obviously that's not good for the American people.
Eli, help me understand, Mike Johnson, he's somebody I've had on the show. He's not somebody, I trash Republicans all the time. He's not someone I feel badly about. He's the furthest to the right speaker I've ever had. And this is the first significant fight. And Eli, from the outside looking in, brother, it looks like he just laid down. It doesn't even look like there was a serious squabble. Please help me understand.
Yeah, well, Jesse, I'm struggling to understand this one myself at this point because this speaker's been in that spot for about 20 days, I believe. I'm going to try and give him a little grace, take him at his word, and what he's telling us is he needs a little bit more time to convince some of the more moderate members of our party that we're going to go down a different trajectory, a different road, if you will. Though I wish he would have made a different decision and fought a little harder. When I look at this conference and just how weak it can be at times, I do kind of understand where he's coming from as far as talking about, what he thought he could get away with the conference. But at the same time, at the end of the day, Jesse, this isn't about Mike Johnson. It's not about, Chip Roy. It's not about the Freedom Caucus. It's about trying to save this country. And we're clearly not going to do that voting on continuing resolutions that spend way too much money and have policy in them that's weaponized and, woke and, working against the American people. And that's what we just did.
Yeah, it's exactly what they just did. And I know you get the same emails, you get the same phone calls I get. I've been lamenting one I got for a couple of days. I can't get that out of my head. A guy just sold his last gun to afford rent and electricity this month. And yet Congress keeps spending and devaluing people's dollar. What they're doing there is destroying the American people. Do they know that? Do these Republicans who just join with the dirty commie scum, do they understand they're destroying America?
I don't think they believe that, Jesse. Sometimes I wonder myself, but I don't think many of them believe it. I think, this place is powerful, man. They try and suck you in from the moment you get here. I think I'm only a freshman. I think of, my first couple weeks here, and I saw how powerful the tractor beam was to pull you into the swamp, and felt it firsthand. And, I think that, as human beings, when we're benefiting personally, we can tell ourselves a lot of misinformation, or, if you will, to, kind of go along with what's going on. And I think that's what happens here. Instead of being selfless, I think many up here are selfish. And the other thing that happens up here, Jesse, is, you're told all the time, hey, we need you on the team. We need you on the team. It's us against Democrats. And the sad thing is, Jesse, is that Republicans honestly are to blame for a lot of what you see going on up here, and a lot of what you see going on in the country. I think we've won more elections than we've lost over the last 6 decades. And so we do share a good amount of the ownership and accountability in where this country is at. But if you talk to many of these individuals, you wouldn't see any shame. You wouldn't see any regrets. You would just see the stone face of, hey, I'm on the team. I'm fighting for America, and it's bizarre.
It's freaking horrible, man. Keep fighting the good fight, brother. I appreciate you. Yeah. Look, he's in the belly of the beast. You got to keep our prayers up for guys like that too, man. Or they just. Man, what a mess. I bet Ana Perez is all fired up about everything. We'll talk to Ana about it in a second. Before we get to her, I'm fired up. It's freaking tax season. And we're already starting to do that thing. Maybe you're already doing this, where we're meeting with the CPA and we're just figuring out how much the government has already taken you to the cleaners and how much more they're going to take you to the cleaners. And then you look at these people and how they just blow your money on. It's awful. And what if you owe? This is even more stressful, right? Do you owe? Are you behind? Did you miss a year? Couple years? 10 years? You owe 10 grand? You owe 100? Tax Network USA, they're professionals who will take on the IRS for you and make it right, all right? You cannot take on an increasingly weaponized IRS by yourself. Let them take on the IRS for you and work it out. Stop the stress. Stop the texting and the books and everything. Just get a hold of Tax Network USA, all right? TaxNetworkUSA.com/Jesse is where you go. Let a professional fight other professionals, okay? We'll be back.
Republican voters, and I hear this echoed all the time, are tired of the circular firing squad within our party. And they're saying, can we please talk about Joe Biden and the Democrats and the border and fentanyl and crime and what's happening to our kids and inflation? But I'll definitely defend my record as chair. The RNC, which is a turnout machine, right? We're not the messengers. We don't create the messages for the campaigns. Those are the consultants who get very, very well paid.
Well, one of the things, Rana, that happened was, I think in Virginia, people were wondering where the money was, whether they were going to get some help from the RNC.
A lot of people don't understand fundraising. I can't raise state dollars. I don't get unlimited convention and state dollars. And these were state House and state Senate races. The RNC is a federal committee. So, I mean, come on. Can you just, these are people who've come after me all the time. They're on Twitter. They're all the time. And let's see their results. What did they do in Virginia? How much money did they give? But let me stand by something else. In 2022, we took back the House. And the RNC is part of that. We're building the road. And we're launching Bank Your Vote. We've got to do that.
Rana, we got to roll, but
early.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a lot more to get to next.
Joining me now, I can't wait to hear her thoughts on this. Ana Perez, host of Wrong Think Primetime. Okay, Ana, Look, obviously, Ronna
Thanks for having
McDaniel
me.
sucks. I know that. You know that. Everyone knows that. She's a disaster. But don't we deserve this? I mean, we had Harmeet Dillon running for this, and she was not only defeated, she was destroyed. It wasn't even a close election. This is what Republicans want, at least Republican donors. This is what they want, this useless pound of flesh at the RNC.
Well, see, it's ironic because the same message that Republicans have been buying into for far too long is the message that she's pushing, which is don't keep your eye on me. Don't keep your eye on the people within that are screwing things up for our party. No, look at the Democrats. Look at Joe Biden. Look at how bad the Democratic Party is. We don't want this infighting. Well, actually, we want to get to the bottom of what's going on within our own party if you want us to start focusing on the Democrats. Now, I agree to some extent that obviously, you want to root for your team. You want to save this country. You want to focus on defeating, the enemy, which, of course, are the communists that are destroying this country. However, with that said, I want some accountability here on Ronna. And, it's so obvious, though, at this point that she wants us to forget that it's people like her who are destroying our ability to win. And yeah, because of her, of the RNC's spending in strategic areas, because of her influence on, people like Trump and the people he's endorsed as a result of that, we've had a lot of failures. Look at Pennsylvania. Look at what happened with Dr. Oz. Well, I can only imagine the kind of influence that was going on behind closed doors with that. Or even Eric Greitens, for example. Not every Republican is created equal. And I think for so long, Republicans have been asleep at the wheel at that. So we do bear some responsibility for allowing people like Ronna McDaniel to get away with it. But then again, we also can't buy into this message that, we can't point the finger at our own party and say, well, what can we do better? Because she's the perfect example of that.
Let's talk briefly about what we can do better. Our base doesn't turn out sometimes. And I don't blame the Republican base for being deflated given how useless the low-T GOP is. I really do not. But we have issues like, look, the big abortion amendment that just had in Ohio. That's a red state, and it wasn't even close. Just got shattered. Where are all these Republicans supposedly who are mad about Joe Biden, want to fight the culture war, and then a vote comes up and, well, hey, I got to catch the football game.
No, it's absolutely true. And I think a lot of people are disillusioned with what's gone on within our party. And I think that we'd like to see people defend each other better than, the way that the left behaves. Because, the left, they when they do eat their own, it's like we're clapping because it's hilarious. It never happens, right? But here on the right, we do to some degree, like we don't have a lot of support for real conservative candidates. And I think we need to start making it very clear that, hey, there are consequences to the way you vote. So, for example, what was going on with, the McCarthy vote and, getting him out of, the speaker chair and, how Matt Gaetz was made out to be this terrible guy. I mean, you had Fox News hosts who were talking nonstop about how whiny Matt Gaetz is, how terrible it is that he's screwing things up. No, that's what America's supposed to look like. That's what a functional country looks like when you start having that fighting on display for everybody to see, when you see that transparency, right? And they didn't like that. But the people there are certain people that control the narrative here, which is, of course, the mainstream media, the major corporations that do. And the people who actually push against the grain and do want to do good things for this country, for the Republican Party specifically, they're demonized. People like Matt Gaetz, people who really are honing in on that conservative message of let's do better, let's reinvigorate the party, let's give us some hope. Because we look at people like McCarthy and we think to ourselves, well, he's always going to be there. He's always going to be, if he's not speaker, he's going to have some sort of influence over that. And yes, we have Mike Johnson now, although I would argue, I think he's going to go along with a lot of the same things McCarthy did. They weren't going to allow McCarthy to be replaced with an actual America First candidate. They weren't going to, or congressman. They were going to replace him with somebody that they can influence, probably they, meaning the Uniparty, as easily as they did with McCarthy. So we have yet to see exactly, but I'm just saying, I think a lot of Republicans are just sick and tired of not actually seeing any change, even though that's what we've been calling for at least since 2015.
Is part of the problem our side's obsession with, quote, nice? I remember as soon as Mike got elected, and look, he is the furthest to the right of any speaker, but as I told everyone, he's going to disappoint you, and one of the main reasons I knew why is as soon as he got appointed speaker, Anna, they started talking about what a good guy he was and how nice he was, and he's very nice to his family. Well, this is not a nice time, and I'm sorry, what this country considers nice guys are not going to be what takes this country back from the little savages who've taken it over.
Well, you're absolutely right. That's why there's people who are, within that are trying to sabotage this, that did try and sabotage the speaker vote. That's why they didn't want somebody else to be there. They didn't want Jim Jordan to be speaker, because they want to convince you that a nice guy is better, because a nice guy is going to be malleable. He's going to be easily influenced. He's going to be lower T. Okay. I'm not saying that he necessarily has issues with his testosterone, Mike Johnson, that is. However, what I am saying is that, yeah, he's got that softer, nicer appeal. And I totally agree. And I think a lot of Americans do too. But that is how they control this country. That's how the uniparty stays in power, because they convince you that nice is better. And then people are like, oh, well, that sounds good. He's got glasses. He seems like he's a smart guy. He loves his family. And unfortunately, they get away with it all too often, because that is exactly the message that they want you to believe in. I don't think that nice is going to fix it, but they're also not going to let a real person who's going to take charge, have any sort of power.
Let's talk about Nikki Haley, as disgusting as that is. Just a brief moment. She's getting quite famous right now for saying this.
When I get into office, the first thing we have to do, social media accounts, social media companies, they have to show America their algorithms. Let us see why they're pushing what they're pushing. The second thing is every person on social media should be verified by their name. That's, first of all, it's a national security threat. When you do that, all of a sudden people have to stand by what they say.
We live in a time where the United States government, especially its FBI, CIA, NSA, has declared war on half the American people, and one of the Republican candidates running for office believes all those people should have their names exposed. Do I have that right?
Well, it sounds about right if you're Nikki Haley, considering she's basically George Bush. I mean, this is the same person who probably does support the Patriot Act, who does support a lot of the things that these neocons have done. She's a neocon. And she's not going to be this anti-establishment free speech advocate. People, honestly, were freaking out over that. I was like, did you think that she thought any differently? Did you think that she thought any differently than the fact that we need more government, than the fact that we need more surveillance? I mean, that is exactly why we fear people like her, why we feel people like her being in power, because they will play just as much of a role in increasing the police state as the left does.
These people... Look, I read you the Thanksgiving inflation numbers. This is a preview of how it is now. And this is going to be how it is now, with costs going up, and up, because not a single person, Republican or Democrat, is talking about cutting spending. I mean, maybe one person here or there, but no large groups. So this is the new norm, up, 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 up. Do you think maybe it would be a good time to get some precious metals in your hands? Like now? It's a good time. Gold or silver, I don't care. Oxford Gold will get it delivered to your front door. It's easy. It's anonymous. It's insured. Don't worry about that. You don't need a bank vault. You need this in your physical possession. You need it in your retirement account. This is our new normal. I hate that term, but that's what it is now. Go to jessekellygold.com. That's your one-stop shop for all this stuff, okay? By the way, you can get up to $2,500 in free gold right now. jessekellygold.com. Go get some. Find out how. We'll be back. All right. It is time to lighten the mood, and it is actual National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. And so, look, I'll be frank about something. Here in the studio, it's an all-male environment. There aren't any women who work here in the studio. And I remember the first time my wife came to see the studio, she was mortified when she walked into our kitchen area by the various Little Debbie chip food products in there. And then she opened up the fridge. And as you can see, that's an actual picture of our fridge. I just want you to know that's our fridge. I do spot a protein drink in there. I might want to point out that one's mine, not to brag. But is there some expired ranch? Some expired blue cheese in there? Of course there is. Do we have tons of hot sauce? Of course we do. I will say, I think maybe it would be better if we did get a woman here in the office, though, because things are starting to smell a little bit. All right? All right. Clean out your fridge. I'll see you tomorrow.